Hello, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Monday LinkedIn Live. At the same time, we are also streaming to YouTube. Just a reminder, you can, of course, go there, check some of the old interviews. It's much easier to find them there than on my newsfeed. So you're welcome to also subscribe, like, share some of the YouTube content that we create. But yeah, without too much random rambling, Katherine, we have you back. So you've been on the show a few
Yeah,
weeks ago, but still, let's do a little introduction. Please do me a favor and introduce yourself a little bit to the audience, and then we'll dive into the topic.
100%. And first of all, thank you so much for having me back. I am so excited to be back on your show with you. It's one of my favorites. And so I am Katherine McCord. I run Titan Management, which is a national recruiting and consulting firm. I also recently developed an discrimination and anti-resume applicant tracking system. And and then I also host a show called Career Launch Live, which is on every Wednesday from 12 to 1 Eastern time. That's what I do.
Perfect. And if I'm not mistaken, I'll be your guest in very
A
near
couple weeks.
future. Yes.
Yes, in a couple weeks,
Yep.
you will be
Yeah.
on with me. That's right. I'm excited about it. It'll be a really good time.
Yeah, so am I. So am I. But it's so nice, to be on this side of the microphone, asking questions, being curious, and just not saying too much. Even though I ramble way too much.
It's
But
my favorite. I will say, I didn't think I would ever like having a show, but I do. I'm even an introvert. A lot of people don't realize about me. I'm an introvert, but I love it. It's because I am a curious person. So I'm with you. I love every second of it.
yeah, Katherine, last time we talked more about the recruiting process and a little bit about the new platform that you are putting out there. But then we got to talking about remote employees, remote work, and how that is a huge problem right now for a lot of companies because it is different than having people in the same office. And then we decided, well, that's a whole new topic. And so we scheduled another LinkedIn Live, and we will devote this one to challenges and, both on the side of employees and on the side of employers, smaller companies that don't have huge capacity of different HR people and so on employed, how to manage this crazy times and how to manage the uh, remote work. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah. So I actually specialize in working with smaller companies and startups. That's my specialty. I work with big guys as well, but I love my little guys. And one of the biggest challenges for them is, like you said, they don't have anyone dedicated to just taking care of employees. So it presents an even bigger challenge from that standpoint. So one of the first things, and I, by the way, myself run a fully remote company. Everybody that works on my team is completely remote, even for the applicant tracking system that we're putting out, everybody is remote. So I know what it's like as a business owner to go through that. And the first thing that I tell people is it's not actually that different. That's the first thing to get out of your head. It gets scary because it looks a little bit different, but it's not actually all that different. So it's still employee relations, right? You still have to check in on your people, make sure that they're good. You still have to make sure that they have all the tools that they need. And you still need to have meetings and things like that and touch points. The only difference is that instead of face-to-face, you're using things like Zoom to organize. One of the biggest mistakes that I see small companies using is over organizing. And that sounds like that's not possible, but here's what I mean. You don't need calendar and alignable and or not alignable. What's that one that everybody's using? That big calendaring system.
Calendly?
No, not Calendly. I love Calendly. That's the calendar one. There's one, Slack. That's it. No, Slack. You don't need Slack too. You don't need all. No, that overwhelms people, and then you've just made them more busy because now they're having to put everything to 5 different systems. Don't do that. Just use Calendar or Slack, one or the other, and schedule accordingly, and just have daily touch points. I recommend huddle meetings where you have a little 15-minute conversation, do not go over, to just touch points on everything. Everybody can say something real fast that they need to say, and then you're out of there. And then you just kind of keep going. But the main tip is don't overcomplicate it. It's not that hard. And people always go, well, how am I going to know if they're working? Well, is the job getting done? Then they're working.
Well, one thing that you mentioned that I really like is try to trim the fat away. And I
Yes.
see a lot of companies, so they have Trello and Asana and Slack and
Yes.
WhatsApp and I don't know what else. And then it's even hard to keep up with what goes where, and then information goes missing, or not
Yes.
missing, but it, like in Slack, with a lot of messages going back and forth, it goes
It's
away
hard.
from
Yeah.
the what we see.
Mhm.
That's one thing. But the other thing that I think it was like something you mentioned, you still need to have the meetings and the huddles,
Yeah.
uh, because what I often see is that companies will, when you are in the same building, you have a lot of the informal stuff happening, a lot of
Mhm.
just, hey, what's up, like just simple things, the informal things that happen as the day goes by.
Mhm.
And when you try to put everything into structure, every meeting is business orientated, this and that, and some of that informal stuff, the personal stuff, is getting lost. Now,
Yeah.
how can we accomplish that? We maintain some level of intimacy, friendship, and
Right.
and so on that would happen normally in
That's
in a working environment.
That's so easy, actually. That's the good news. So what I use personally is Telegram, and it's basically an instant message system that you can go back and forth. You can also send files and things like that, so you can use it for work. But I use it for the, hey, what's up? Just it's almost like text messages between me and the team, but it does keep an actual record. You can keep it, you're kind of more professional, that kind of thing. But it's a great way to just chat back and forth, or if you just need a quick bit of information from someone, just a real quick question, just send it to them on Telegram. It's a great way to do it. Send pictures of your kitty cat or your puppy or your kid or whatever, just to say hi to everybody. The other thing is, don't forget to do one-on-ones with your people. Yeah, it's great to see them in the meeting with everybody else, but don't forget once a week to just call them and go, hey, what's up? How's it going? What's going on with you? I remember last time we talked that your mom was sick with COVID. How's she doing? That kind of thing. Just take a minute to have a little short one-on-one, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes with your people, just to keep that relationship, to keep that going. You should know what's going on with your people in their lives. I'm not saying that you need to be BFFs with them, but you should have a general idea of what's going on with them. That's part of good management. So I use tools like Telegram, and then just those one-on-one calls. That's absolutely crucial.
Well, Catherine, do you see it as well that somehow with the online work, people are just not mindful about doing what you just said,
Yeah.
being personal, and
Mhm.
we kind of have to force ourselves,
Yep.
at least in the beginning, until it becomes the new nature.
Mhm.
Because when we are in the same space, it's
It's
natural
easy.
that we say
Yeah.
hi
It's
to
easy.
everybody and so on. And then when we go remote, I think that's like the first part that
It
just
is.
kind of like gets
Mhm.
lost, and we just try to accomplish as much and be productive as much. And maybe we are like more effective at guarding our own personal space, but we really shouldn't do that, because
Right.
being co-workers, we need that additional level of intimacy.
Yes.
So maybe a
Yes.
little bit of that happening.
100%. And calendar it, managers. Calendar your calls with your employees, calendar your touch points. Remind yourself, if you hear somebody's kid is sick, put a reminder on your calendar the next day to send them a text message or a telegram or whatever and say, hey, how's your kid doing? If you hear that somebody's, I don't know, grandkid graduated high school, remember to congratulate them, set a reminder and congratulate them. Use your calendar system to keep it personal. Technology can actually help us with the personal stuff. I do that. I calendar people's birthdays. I calendar reminders to tell them congratulations. I calendar follow-ups with people, everything. I calendar everything. That way something doesn't get dropped. It works.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's those little spices, isn't it?
Mhm.
Not the big things, but the little spices that really make our life
Yes.
much more, much nicer, much more
Mhm.
enjoyable, even when it comes to our coworkers.
Yeah,
But we so often forget about the little spices, and
you have to.
like you said, we have to remind ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, and people don't realize that yes, compensation matters, yes, benefit matters, all of that. But what they forget is that the real reason that you're going to retain your employees is that they like their job and they like the people that they work with. That keeps people more than anything else. I have taken employees from companies that where they made tons more money and had better benefits just because they hated the job and they hated the people and they just couldn't stand it. They weren't happy. So those personal touch points are everything. Those are so very crucial to maintaining the health of your business.
Well, Catherine, what about, this talk was about um, overcoming the challenges and managing remote workers. Like what, in your opinion, are some of good ways to effectively manage remote teams when you have teams all around the globe, on
Mhm.
different time zones, different cultures? People are
Mhm.
now more open. So, fun thing, what I see a lot with some of my clients, so let's say that they're based in the US and they're used to a certain culture that has been developed in the US, and now they're hiring people from Europe, from Asia,
Mhm.
who were growing in a different environment, who have different culture,
Yeah.
and you see a little bit of that clashing because they're just not used to people having a completely different culture, and then time zones and all of that comes into the mix. So yes, let me just leave it
No,
to
you're
you
good.
to.
You're good. So the first thing I want to start with that is hiring. So whenever you're hiring somebody fully remotely, make sure to keep it personal. Do long Zoom calls, have a Zoom drink or a Zoom coffee even after your chat. Keep it as personal as possible because it's really hard to maintain that relationship if you don't start off on the right foot. So that's number one. Keep everything and be ready for them when they start, guys. That's so tacky for someone to start a job and you're not ready for them. Have their equipment ready, have their logins ready, all of that. Have somebody ready to train them because even if they're a professional, they still need to be trained your way. So have somebody who has at least one full day set aside, or at least one half day set aside to train the new person and to spend time with them. So go through that. Then when it comes to managing people, again, organize, organize, organize. Keep trainings going. There are great ways to train, and it's not just Zoom. You can use online free class formats where you can create little classes for them, all kinds of things. Keep all of that alive. The next thing with your remote people is be understanding. they, they have all these different things around them. They have cats and dogs and occasionally children if school is out and all of that. Be human about it. I know it's frustrating. Trust me, I'm a person that's easily agitated by excess noise and things like that. So I understand, but you have to learn to deal with it and cope with it. So one of the things that I recommend people do is to learn your employees and learn ways to help them. So let's say you have someone who at 3 o'clock their kids get home. Don't schedule a one-on-one meeting with them with the client at 3 p.m. That doesn't make sense. Those kids are going to come in, that client's going to hear it, and it's not going to go well. you know, don't get mad at the employee when you knew that that was the case. And if you didn't know, that's on you. So know a little bit about them, work with them a little bit, but ultimately, some of this is going to come down to the employee learning how, and we'll talk about that in a minute, I know, and how to manage yourself. So, but get to know your employees, get to know their needs, and come up with ways to everybody work together. And if they're in different time zones, this doesn't sound like the most accommodating thing, but you're going to have certain set work hours that no matter what time zone you're in, you're available. for meetings and things like that. It just has to be that way. So, and it doesn't have to be the whole day. It can just be a 3-hour window where, sales and development and customer service and whoever else is all available so that you can all come together and work together. So scheduling is huge. Create windows where everyone is available, and then get to know your people. Get to know what's going on with them. Get to know what's happening in the world so that you don't accidentally do something that's going to make them trip up with this remote work environment. Me, for instance, I have rescue animals. And so occasionally, if I do not know a call is coming through or something like that, you may hear a meow in the background. It may happen. And that's just what it is. But if I know it's coming, I shut them out, I prepare for it, and we go from there. So it's a matter of making sure that everything is calendared to prepare people and yourselves and to set people up for success.
I like this. When in my Calendly, because most people book me through Calendly. That's my preferred choice because it creates the Zoom link automatically. It bridges all the different time zones. They can go there. They can see the way they want my calendar, compare with their own calendar, and so on. But one thing that I have set up in the back end of Calendly is you can actually have buffers before and after the meeting. And so I make sure that for different links, I have different buffers before and after, which is really there for me to properly prepare. And even just things like you will never see anything open on my calendar for this day. You will only see things from tomorrow on, because one mistake that happened to me early on was that somebody booked me for 1 hour after like 1 hour later, and I was in the city center enjoying myself, having beers with my friend, and then it was a little bit of an awkward situation, and that taught me not to do that. But
I had a similar situation. I can completely relate.
One more thing I want to ask you, Katherine, before we go to the employee side, is when we work in company environment, we're all in the same office. It's easy to measure somebody's work by hours. When you have remote workers, measuring by hours might not be the smartest thing. First of all, you need great technology to do that for you, or you will spend a whole lot of time going through all different logs and trying to figure out. And so last time when we talked, you actually said that it's much smarter, and I absolutely agree with you, to set more like expectations in terms of what needs to be done. Now, do you have any examples from maybe your own experience how to set those expectations based on shit needs to get done versus I need you to work X amount of hours?
So this idea that a job takes X many hours is false, and it's very archaic. And I'm going to use myself as an example first. So this happened to me time and again in jobs when I was younger, but I'm going to give a very specific example. I worked with a company that did debt settlement for clients that had extreme hardships. So I had, cancer patients and people who had gone through a horrible divorce, people who'd lost their spouse, things like that. And we were helping them get out of debt. I got my first out of training, got my first client load, and it was the same as everybody else's. They didn't take it easy on me because I told them not to. And luckily, the person who trained me had known me for a while. And I finished everything in 4.5 hours that I was supposed to do that day. And I started on the next day and I finished all of that. In 3.5 hours, I had an extra hour in my day. And because we worked kind of longer shifts, so I had an extra hour in my day. And they said, there's no way that that's right. You did something wrong. So I said, check. And they went through and they could not believe that I'd gotten 2 days work done when there were other people who'd been there longer who would fall behind. It got to the point that I would be a week ahead helping somebody else and helping management with their job all in a 9-hour workday. And because that's how I worked. I was able to set my own system and get it done. Now, it doesn't mean I was necessarily the best on the floor. I was one of the top performers. I was one of the top 3 every single month. But there were other people there that had other value to them and did things differently and worked better for other clients. So what took them 8 or 9 hours took me 4. And so time, saying your job takes 8 hours is ridiculous. What needs to get done in a day? There you go. As long as that's done every single day, which should be pretty easy to track, our customers being called or this and that, that's all that matters. Is this money coming in, or is payroll fine, or whatever, if you're in IT, is this developed, is this code entered? All of that's trackable very, very easily. So just do that. Hours in a day don't really matter. That's just silly.
Is it a mindset shift, or
it is
what is it?
Well, we were taught that, right? We were all taught growing up that you work 9 hours a day and that's what a work day is, and no, not anymore. Not with all the technology that we had. There was a time when maybe that was a little bit more accurate, but with today's technology and everything, absolutely not. And everybody's different. I've known people that it takes them 10 hours a day to do recruiting, and I've known other people where it takes them 6 and they have equal productivity. It's just different.
Okay.
As long as the work's getting done, leave it.
Yeah. So focus on what needs to happen for each specific role, and try to stay away from X amount of hours of work, but actual tasks. And
as long as somebody's on time for meetings and stuff, because obviously you need to be on time for meetings, right? And respect other people's time. And I'm not talking about like with nurses and things like that. Obviously there are certain shifts that have to be followed, right? But the rest of the time, just focus on what needs to be done and leave the rest alone. If they start working at 9:20 instead of 9 o'clock on the dot, who cares? Did the work get done? There you go. Now you're good.
So
the other one, real quick that I want to touch on is money, because I've been seeing this ridiculous trend of people going, oh, I can pay my people less money because now they're working from home. Why? It's still the same value to your company. Why are you charging them less? Or why are you paying them less? That makes no sense. Their work is still the same value with them working from home as with them not. So that makes 0 sense. Pay your people what they're worth, period. Stop being cheap. Just going to throw that out there real quick.
No, yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Well, Katherine, we still have a few minutes left, so that's nice. We are not rushing like last time. Last time we really had to cover a lot, and it was a smart idea to do another one, because now we can be a little bit more laid back. But now I would love to explore the other side. You also have a lot of insights and experience in that regard. And, maybe it can help our viewers who are leaders and managers understand better the other side. Or maybe, we have some employees among the audience who will also appreciate some insights, because we know how it is. You have husbands and wives at home, and kids and dogs and cats, and a whole lot of everything. And a lot of people don't have a huge space. And so that can be also a problem, and how to maneuver around it with there's like a whole lot of things happening. I mean, I'm very happy to be living in a house where I have my upstairs floor for my office, and I can just close the door. Dogs are downstairs, everything is downstairs, and I can go upstairs, I can do my work, but not many are in that situation.
Yeah, but you do need to have a set work area. Okay, that's number one, guys. So the first thing that you should be doing is checking your Wi-Fi or internet connection and making sure that you're in the best possible spot for that. Okay, if you use a cell phone for work versus a landline, make sure that you're in your best spot for cell coverage. Test these things out. Don't just say, this is my office, so this is where I'm going to work. Maybe your kitchen's better. Maybe your dining room's better. check it out and make sure that you're in the best possible spot so you have the least possible connectivity issues. That's very, very important. The next thing is quietness. Find a spot that you can make as quiet as possible. Now, look, we all know, like I said earlier, I have little animals running around my house. You will occasionally hear a bark or meow. There is just nothing to be done about that. But I've picked the spot that is the most quiet and that I can do the most about, and to keep everything running as smoothly as possible and as quiet as possible so that I can focus. Then the next thing is, guys, I know it's so easy to go, oh, I just need to go throw this load of laundry in, or I just need to do this or that. Don't do that. It will break your concentration from your work. What I recommend is scheduling those things. Saying, yes, I am at home. And you know what? I have these breaks between calls. So here, I'm going to put a reminder to go throw that laundry in. And then here's a reminder where I can go change it over to the dryer. Put those things in scheduled. Don't just randomly pull yourself aside. That sets a really bad pattern that's going to distract your brain and make it more difficult for you to focus on your job, which you should be doing since they're paying you to do it, okay? So make sure that you schedule those things. The other thing is, I've noticed that it's gotten a lot easier for a lot of people. Not everyone's like this. I'm not. I know a couple other people that are not, but I know a lot of people that are even more distracted by personal things now that they're home, such as a death in the family, an illness of a child, things like that. Now, obviously, if your kid's sick and at home, it's going to be a little bit more in your face if you're with them, because they're right there and they're never going to leave you alone because they're sick and they don't feel good and they want mommy and daddy, right? So I get that. But when it comes to other things, you've got to keep it out. I have seen employees that their spouse is yelling at them while they're on a work call. No. That is a big no. I have seen people that thought it was appropriate to diaper their baby on a Zoom call for work. It is not, okay? We know that you're at home, but do that kind of thing before a call. Try to keep it as professional as possible and manage your life. And if there is a death in the family or something like that, we all understand if you need to take the time off, take it off, but don't half-ass your job. That's a general advice, period. Don't half-ass your job. It will not end well. Just say, I need the time, and take it. And then come back and be ready to go. Deal with what you got to deal with, and then come back and get it straight. And I've noticed an increase with problems in that area since COVID. There's just kind of been this mentality that, oh, my employer can just deal with it. Okay, things come up and they do need to be flexible with you, but ultimately there's a job that has to get done. So you need to take care of what you need to take care of and then come back raring to go. That's just part of life. It stinks, guys. I know it, but that's just part of it. So organize yourself, organize everything. Quiet, best connectivity. Oh, and social things, get your social on. Get your Telegram going and all that. Talk to all your coworkers and don't be lonely. Don't let yourself get lonely. That's no fun.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, it's not easy, and I can't imagine if you're in even a smaller place and both partners working from home and a bunch of kids and animals and so on. So I understand that it's not easy, but if you are doing a bit more of planning and a little bit of those buffers in between, I mean, shit still happens, and every now and then stuff will happen, and people will understand if it's every now and then, as long as it's not like a reoccurring thing, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, and women, do not breastfeed on a Zoom call. I have seen that twice now. Please do not do that. But yeah, I think it's just, we all have to have human understanding with each other, both sides. And employees, please be patient with your employers. They're getting used to this too. Okay. Don't be harsh on them. Let them get used to it. Let them kind of figure it out and work with them. Maybe offer suggestions, don't put it all on them either. That's not cool either.
Well, yeah, some training and some adoption to company culture and stuff like that, where both parties work hand in hand to find certain ways of maneuvering around this new
Right.
reality to get things accomplished and for people to have an,
Mhm.
a healthy life
Right.
alongside the job. So yeah,
Right.
I that's why I wanted to ask you about this, because I think it's good for the managers and the leaders to hear
Mhm.
the other side, because I think that often they forget that people have their own lives to deal with,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the employees often feel that they are unlistened, unheard,
Yes.
ununderstood, and
They
that's why
are.
I wanted to spark a little bit of that
Your
conversation. And
your
how
your whole job as a manager is to support those people. People get this idea that it's about being the king. You're above everybody else, and I'm so much better than you. No, 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 no. Your whole job is servitude when you're a manager. That is your life. Taking care of them, making sure they have what they need, all of that. That is your job. And that's what you should be doing. Empathize with them, get to know what's going on. I literally, the last time I was in an office with a full staff, some people that there's the school canceled. It just canceled randomly. I don't remember now why, something weird had happened. And so they said, well, we're going to lose our hours. We're going to lose a day of PTO. We don't know what to do. I said, bring the kids to work. So we had a day where there were a bunch of kids sitting there doing their classwork and coloring their coloring books and eating snacks and all that while everybody was sitting there recruiting. And it worked fine. just just work with people, have human understanding. Just go, all right, well, now we got this. How do we deal with it? And just work together. That's the whole thing. Work together and communicate and schedule
yes, yes.
everything.
Well, Catherine, before we wrap it up for today, um, and I'm sure we will have more opportunities, not just on your show, but I'm sure I'll bring you back again and again and again,
I hope
because
so.
it's so lovely to chat with you. But okay, maybe I forgot to ask something, or there's just something that you feel like sharing. So, like, what's that last golden nugget of wisdom that you want to share with the audience before we say goodbye?
We kind of touched on it, but use technology, whether it's that you're the employee and you want to organize yourself at home, or whether you're the employer looking to keep everybody together. Technology, technology, technology. Again, Telegram is a wonderful free IM system that also you can send files back and forth if you need to. It works really, really well. You can use Zoom, you can use Google Meets, things like that. I highly recommend Calendly. Both Miha and I talked about that. It's a wonderful calendaring system. You can even set it up to where you can see each other's calendars. I highly, highly recommend it, but don't over technology. Don't give your people duplicates. Don't give them three things that all do the same thing, essentially. Don't have Google Meets and Zoom. That's silly. That makes no sense. Have one thing, keep it streamlined, but use technology to keep yourself organized. That will save you on either side of the desk.
I absolutely and fully agree with that. Technology can greatly help us.
Mhm.
Um, we still need to have human connections.
Yes.
Technology can't do that for us, but it can greatly help us and enable us to have more of those human connections. And what you said, trim the fat, don't have five tools that all do the same thing, because you're just introducing a whole lot of confusion. So
Yes.
choose whatever tool works best and use that one, and get rid of all the rest that you can get rid of. Um,
100%.
Catherine, lovely as always having this conversation with you. I'm really grateful and I really appreciate you for being my guest today. I wish you nothing but all the best on your journey, and I'll see you in a few weeks' time, uh, being a
Don't
guest
put
on
them
your
on
show.
slide. That's right.
Yes, yes.
Bye.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.
Okay, everybody. So this was Catherine again. Such a lovely conversation, but also I think this is a very important topic. Not many are talking about it from both sides of the aisle. It is very important. It's a new normal for a lot of the companies out there, for a lot of the employees out there. And from what we are hearing is that there is a likely chance that certain companies will remain in some sort of remote-ish work, even when we are completely out of the current corona thing. So very important topic. I absolutely loved how Katherine gave her views, and it's so lovely to meet somebody who has both perspective and bridges the gap in between in such a lovely way. So do check Katherine out. She's linked in the post. You can click on it, get connected with her, talk to her, and see if she can help you in some sort of way when it comes to your company. From my end, that was it for today. I wish you all the best, and I hope you're all happy and safe and everything's doing well for you. Next Monday, another interview, another LinkedIn Live or a YouTube Live. So see you next Monday. Take care, guys.